Today's job market is more challenging than ever, but there is absolutely no reason if you use the right technique, you can't stand out. In today's video, I'm going to give you some advanced techniques that'll teach you how to instantly stand out as a candidate they should hire. I've been in recruitment for 15 years, and today I'm going to help you get your next job. Let's go. So the first thing you need to do is you need to start strong. And what I mean by that is you need to come in smiling, eye contact, and be ready to nail the interview question, tell me about yourself, which is essentially how like 95% of interviews start. So knowing that, you need to be ready to nail this. And the way I tell people they need to answer this question is you need to be prepared to make it a commercial about why you're a great fit for the role. So the first 70% of it is talking them through the highlights of your background that are applicable to the role, and you finish with that last 30% talking about why your experience has positioned you to be an amazing fit for this role. So it might start off something like this, and I'm gonna go quick, but my name's Ben. I got my bachelor's from such and such school, my master's from this school. In my entire career, I've been in recruiting. I started off on the agency side. After a few years at so-and-so company, I went to corporate recruiting. I did that for a handful of years, and recently I've been leading a division of recruiters. And I feel like that has positioned me really well for this role because from the job description, it seems like it is critical that a person be able to do A, B, and C, and I've spent the last 5 years of my career doing A, B, and C. I rushed through that because I didn't want it to take forever, but I also wanted to give you the gist of it. That is how you answer that question. It is an opportunity for you to insert information in there that's going to make you stand out as a great candidate. The reality is, tell me about yourself. There's some things you need to cover, but there's also a lot of freedom in this interview question to make it your own and highlight things you want them to understand about you immediately off the bat. So many people who interview candidates make up their mind early on. And this question is the question for you to nail it and immediately stand out as a great candidate. Okay, next, you need to connect with them. LinkedIn recently put out a study in which they said you are 12 times more likely to get a job offer if the person interviewing you would describe you as having a good personality. 12 times more likely. That is incredibly significant. So you have no choice but to connect with them. The easiest ways to do that: smile, eye contact, active listening. So when they tell you things, nod, repeat it, say, okay, so what you're saying is this. And then finding any sort of connection point. If they have got a picture on their desk and they're fishing, you can point it out. Be like, oh, I see you're fishing there. What lake is that? And they go, oh, this was this. Oh, really? I've been fishing there too. I really enjoy it. That's a very specific example. And I personally don't like fishing. However, that's what you're trying to do. You want to find connection points and you want to draw parallels between the person interviewing you and yourself. It's an incredibly powerful technique. The next thing you need to be able to do is you need to be ready to sell yourself on every single bullet in the job description. When you apply for the job, copy that entire job description and paste it into a Word document or OneNote if you use OneNote. And then what I want you to do is literally line by line, go through and read the bullet of what's required or what the responsibility is, and then talk about how you've done that in the past, right? So this is in preparation. So for example, if it says, must have 5 years experience, coding in C++, right? If you're in software or something. You want to write there, I have 7 years experience coding in C++, and I've done A, B, and C, right? And so what you're basically doing there is you're going through the job description line by line and familiarizing yourself with the qualifications and also expanding on how you are qualified. And then be ready to pitch yourself on every single thing. Depending on your interview and who you're interviewing with, if you're interviewing with a recruiter or HR, they might literally be going through some of the must-haves, some of the responsibilities, and asking you, do you have experience with this? And you need to be ready to not only show them that, yes, absolutely I do, but articulate some of the things you've achieved as it relates to that requirement. The next thing I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to quantify your impact. So this is essentially being able to show someone the things you've done and then what impact it had on the business whenever possible. Sometimes I get comments and I go where people say, hey Ben, I don't have anything like that. Okay, that's totally fine. But if you do, what I would tell you to do is if you could say, in my first 12 months on the role, I increased efficiency and decreased downtime which generated an additional $250,000 in revenue, right? That's just a blanket example. But if you're able to do that, quantify your impact, it's going to make your stories much more powerful and make you stand out as a candidate they should hire. Another powerful thing to do is align yourself to their culture. So go on the company's website, go to their About Us page, and then read through their values. And then you can just find ways to insert that into the conversation. You know, when they ask you, why do you want to work here? You can say something along the lines of this. Yeah, that's a really good question. And there's a lot of reasons that I'd want to work here. But when I was doing my research prior to this interview and I was reading up about your company culture, it really resonated with me, specifically how integrity is one of your values. For me, I always try to operate with honesty and integrity, and it happens to be one of my personal values. So seeing myself aligned to the brand was really motivating to me. Additionally, I've got 5 years experience doing A, B, and C. And what I did there was I just found a way to insert how I'm a culture fit into an answer in which they didn't even ask me about culture. You could also do it in other ways. You know, at the very end of the interview, they go, do you have any questions for me? You could say, yeah, you know, I saw on your company website, one of your values is excellence. Can you give me an example of how you've seen excellence demonstrated in this team in your time here, right? And you're just showing that you did research and you're asking them about one of the values. And when they answer and you go, oh man, that is really great to hear. Excellence is really important to me. I'm one of those people who always strives to put my best foot forward. So it's great to hear that that value is truly lived in your organization. And what you've done there is you've just aligned yourself from a value perspective, which immediately gives you an advantage over other candidates who are not doing that. The next thing you need to be able to do is you need to be able to nail the final interview. The reality is a final interview is different than like an initial stage interview. And it's why I made this video. This video here teaches you how to nail the final round interview. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.